Hey there, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching this. Welcome to Rise and Inspire, a teacher's journey from victim to creator. Just looking at how I can put this onto Instagram. I am live on Instagram. Okay, cool. All right, then, team. Just want to say thank you so much for giving it your time to watch this. Really appreciate it. My name is Sam. And I'm the founder of Student Breakthrough and the Educators Coaching Academy. I'm a teacher, a speaker, and a student coach. And I've been running my student coaching business and training teachers in coaching now for 6 years. I left the classroom way back in 2018 with just a dream and a passion and a purpose to create life on my terms. I was frustrated with education. I was feeling trapped, and I felt like it's time to create the life that I want. And actually, for me, have freedom to live life on my terms. So this event, what we're going to share a little bit about is we're going to bust some myths about teaching. I know some teachers have finished school today. So if you have, well done on completing the school year. We're going to bust some myths on teaching. I'm going to share about my story in case you don't know who I am. And then we look at the dreaded drama triangle and the empowerment dynamic, which is a great model for us teachers and actually us as people to reflect back on how we can move from victim to creator over the next half an hour. So welcome. If you want to comment, please do comment, share, like, get involved. And it'd be great to see you interacting on this event. So let's get stuck into the content. So I'm just going to share a couple of slides, actually, I think, just set the scene. There we go, victim to creator. All right, cool. We'll do this. Let's do this one. Goodness. Nice one. Hopefully everyone can see that. So a little bit about me. This is what I use in my talks, but I'll give you a bit of background. This was me at 10 years old with the Harry Potter glasses. And I share my story from the start here because I never wanted to be a teacher. And if you're watching this, you might have wanted to be a teacher from a young age. For me, I didn't want to do that. But I had one aim, and that was to really make my dad proud. You know, I took on the belief that I had to join the military because my dad was a soldier. To make him proud, to get my dad's love and attention, I'll join the military. And that's what I did. If you can imagine achieving your dream at 10, that might have been being an astronaut or whatever it is. I achieved it in 2012, and I got accepted into the Royal Anglian Regiment, the British Army. I was going down that route. And then very early on into that process, my health started to deteriorate and I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And it was a massive turning point for me when we think about victim, because I started to see Crohn's as like my persecutor, right? Or my villain. You know, why have I got Crohn's? Why is it happening to me, not for me? And I could be a soldier. That's what my dad did. My mum was a teacher, so I begrudgingly became a high school, secondary school history teacher. And here I am on the right-hand side, yes, swamped with loads of marking, but also feeling so overwhelmed. When I started my teaching career, I really struggled. And this was back in 2014, 2015. I was so anxious that, and I couldn't express myself because I didn't know how, that eventually got to the point where I couldn't get into school. And I couldn't switch off my brain. Like it was like a washing machine, constantly whirring. And eventually I just became a chronic insomniac alongside this. So I was struggling with my Crohn's. This anxiety was getting increased. My brain was spinning like a washing machine. I wasn't sleeping. And it got to the point in 2015 where I had a breakdown in front of a group of students. And, you know, crying in front of a group of 30, 16-year-olds is not a good look, I can assure you. But when you're at the bottom of the mountain, sometimes, you know, there's one way up. And on the 23rd of April, 2015, I met someone who was a coach, and I had my first coaching session. And it was a really transformational experience because I've been suppressing all of my pains, fears, doubts, anxieties, worries for my whole life up to that point at 24. I was so scared about opening up as a man about my emotions because I thought I got told that was for girls, right? We should man up, pull our socks up, be tough. And what I found was coaching was an amazing chance for me to express and not suppress but also it was amazing for me to take action. And that's what I'm big on doing at the moment with my student clients, with my one-to-one coaching clients, is getting people to move forward and to take action. So I had this coaching experience in 2015, and I went back into the classroom the next day, and man, it was like feeling like I had a suit of armor on or rocket boosters. I just felt strong and powerful, and I fell in love with teaching. But if you are a teacher, you would have seen your students over time struggle. There's lots of students struggling. Sometimes there's a 2-year wait list for mental health support in some places in the UK. And for certain students, they're not getting the help or support they need. So I had an idea back in 2017 of what if I could help young people with their mental health. And I thought, well, I could become a speaker, I could become a trainer, I could become a counselor, a coach, a therapist. And I came down on coaching because it helped me and it was very action orientated. So I got my coaching qualification in 2017 and I made a company called Student Breakthrough. And I left the classroom literally 6 years ago to the day, give or take. And I've done so many things since then, you do as an entrepreneur. I started my business just one-to-one coaching clients, students in coffee shops in Milton Keynes. This led into larger talks for students. This is me training some sixth form students in coaching. And then the bottom there, we've got some teacher training as well. So I was doing all of these things. But ultimately, in the early days, I'll go into this in a little bit, but I started to realize I was creating life on my terms. My biggest, strongest value in my life is education and also contribution. And if you're a teacher, those moments of teaching are the best. They are phenomenal. Being in front of a group of kids, sharing knowledge, sharing wisdom, watching a student, for me, gain a concept from history. I mean, man, there is no better feeling in the world than teaching. The downside is that there's so much baggage that comes with the job that eventually teachers get burnt out and destroyed. And they end up, for me, I felt like such a victim that I couldn't change my circumstances until I went through personal development and coaching and looked within for the answers. Because I realized that no one was coming to save me in my life as a teacher and as a person. I had to create life on my terms. So I started to work with students, and then I've been featured on some large newspapers like the Northampton Chronicle. So I'm from Northampton, Milton Keynes, originally around here. BBC News. And 2 years ago, I moved to Lisbon. I've been working with some of the top international schools out there in Portugal. And sometimes my watch will hit 3:05, which is when I was a teacher, school would finish and my watch would hit 3:05. I'm like, man, I've created a life on my time. I've left the classroom. I'm living with freedom. I'm making obviously more income than I did as a teacher, and I'm making a difference. But I am my own boss. I'm the master of my ship, and I'm also very proud of that. I've created that, and it is possible for everyone. Teachers have got so many great skills, strengths, and qualities that can be used in other ways. And it's time now to rise and inspire. You've got summer holiday coming up if you're a teacher. This is the chance for you to really step up and think about what you want and not just go term to term to term, drowning, surviving, treading water. This is the time to think, what do I actually want? Because for me, when we think about this, like I found teaching was the least effective way to have autonomy over my life and your life if you're a teacher. Those moments in the classroom are phenomenal, but the job can feel like a ball and chain weighing you down over time. And I just couldn't switch off. We're such good caregivers, but eventually that becomes what I call a shadow caregiver, because we're just so kind of burnt out and stressed that we can't really give to ourselves. How can we give to our kids? We really struggle to have autonomy as teachers. You might relate to that one. And I see a lot of teachers in the staff room. If you've seen the film Up, I love this film. Who are a bit like Mr. Fredrickson at the start of the film. They've been in teaching for a long time. They've been ground down by the system. And if I'm honest, I've seen people, maybe you should have left teaching a long time ago, but because of circumstances, maybe fear, doubt, insecurity, they didn't want to leave. And it's tough to watch those people. But what I've seen in those teachers who've been in education a long time that go through some form of personal development or coaching, whatever, is that they gain this new lease of life. And if you've seen the film, they become Russell. Russell's full of energy. He's chasing adventure. He's excited. And I've seen it time and time again, working with older educators and doing coach training with them, that they gain this lease of life. Like I said, they gain this energy, this spark back, which is really cool. So that's what's on offer. Like, you can do this. You can make a choice. You don't have to do things just because they've been done that way before. Sorry about my slides here, but it says working in education does not support your mental health. I think there was a study, well, I know there was a study done by the Education Institute a couple of years ago now, but it's probably still accurate, that 77% of UK teachers said that the job negatively impacted their mental health. And if you are a teacher, I'm sure you can relate to that, because we have a to-do list as long as our arm. We're trying to be everything to everyone. And ultimately, over time, we don't give enough to ourselves. And the job is not there to support your mental health, let alone teachers. I mean, as teachers, I never got any training on how to support my mental health, my well-being, my emotional state, let alone how to support my students. You kind of learn on the job how to do that. And when I started to learn how to coach, keep dropping my pen here. When I started learning how to coach, it was the first time where I was able to pause and reflect and gain new strategies to inspire myself. Because teaching can feel a bit like a tornado, can't it? Being spun around and around. I did some training once for some teachers, and we were doing some work on vision. And I asked them to think about, their life in 3 years. In coaching, we think a lot about the future and what we want to achieve or see different. And these teachers really couldn't think 3 years ahead. They were just going from term to term. But what I found is when, again, we look within for the answers, you pause, you take a step back and you reflect on what you want, everything becomes a bit clearer, and you're not going from term to term. You're not being spun around. You start thinking, well, what else can I create here? So I'm conscious of the time. This last one, I'm just a teacher. How many times have I heard this? I can't become anything else. Sometimes, again, when we're in this sort of teacher, overwhelmed victim mindset, it's like, well, what else could I do? But so many teachers I know have left. How you think about that is, up to you. It could be a good thing, a bad thing, but ultimately, if someone's not happy in their job and they have the courage to leave, I think that's a really exciting thing to happen, because it does take courage to leave. But everything you want is on the other side of fear, self-doubt, and that insecurity. Everything that I've ever wanted or created in terms of living abroad, still working in education, having freedom for my life, was on the other side of that moment of handing in my notice, but it's still making a difference to the lives of young people and teachers. All right, let's just do this stuff. So ultimately, you have a choice. And we always have choices. Someone told me once that we make 35,000 choices a day. Now, I've got no idea how they came up with that, but subconsciously and consciously, we've always got choices. And you've got a choice as well this summer, about how you want to spend your time. I think resting, recharging is amazing. We've got something on offer this summer, actually, called the Empower Ed Collective, which is a 9-week coach training program, mainly to support you as a teacher, but also learn new skills to support your kids. It's a 2-for-1. And just imagine going back into school in September with this feeling of confidence that you are now starting to create life, like I said, on your terms. And being a bit like, this hermit crab, a bit of a David Attenborough analogy for you here. But, when a crab grows up, when it graduates from crab nursery, it has to leave its shell. It has to get uncomfortable and run across the ocean floor to find a bigger shell to, keep it growing, keep it alive. But so many teachers I find have grown a lot, but they're still in their comfort zone. And it's scary to leave a job that I was doing. I literally went from school to uni straight to teaching. So if you're like that, it's hard to leave. But It's about getting curious and excited about those feelings and asking yourself, well, what could be possible? That's a great question to journal on. What could be possible? What could you create here? So on that note, let's look at, can I shut this banner down? Let me just get this banner off. 2 seconds, team. There we go. Cool. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the event so far. We're going to move into now the teacher burnout triangle and the empowered teacher. This is taking off the dreaded drama triangle, but it's a great coaching tool and exercise to think about where you are in your life and also how you can move from victim to creator. When I first heard this, I was like, whoa, that was me as a teacher. Let's jump into it. So if you've got a pen, you can draw this out. If you're a coach, you've probably seen this before, but usually I'd share this in turn, but let's just look at it now. So this is the teacher burnout triangle. And the main character in this triangle is that of a victim down the bottom. And if you're not a teacher watching this is actually what happens all the time when we go through our day, when we face challenges, when you experience some setbacks or failures, or actually just even the ups and downs of life. Typically, the first character archetype, if you want, that's fired up is the victim. Now, when I was a teacher and I was burnt out, I was anxious, I couldn't express myself, I felt powerless. I had the thoughts like, I am powerless, I cannot do this. And I felt helpless. I was constantly reacting to problems and not really pausing to think what I really wanted. And there's a picture of a teacher with a head in the hands there. That was me in my classroom. I was really struggling. And eventually it got to the point where I started to think about a persecutor or a villain. Now, the villain in this could be the school you're working in. It could be the Department of Education. It could be the government. It could, for me, be Crohn's disease. In those early days of teaching, when I just didn't want to be a teacher at all, my dream was to be a soldier. All I was thinking about was Crohn's. Like, Crohn's has done this to me. It's controlling my life. I don't want to be here. Why have I got to do this? Blah, 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 blah. And I was looking for an external person to blame without taking responsibility for my life. And this is the biggest thing here for this burnout triangle, is that you're not taking responsibility or ownership for the life that you want. Constantly blaming others. Now, the villain, interestingly, you can villainize yourself. And I fall into this trap a lot. Well, I used to, and even today, still I do. Something happens to me. I feel like a victim. Let's say a school doesn't want my program. I'm like, oh, a little bit worries me. I feel like a victim, helpless. Then I blame, the school, whatever, because it's human nature to do this. And then I blame myself. And the villain can be two parts here. You can then, start flagellating yourself for not getting the result you wanted and persecuting yourself. So just have a think. How often do you do that? Is that something that shows up for you in your life? The other part of this is the rescuer, which is teachers. We love being rescuers. Man, when I train teachers in coaching, they really struggle to let go of trying to find a solution for the student, because in coaching, we trust that the client has everything within themselves to change their life. So we're not offering solutions, but teachers so often feel that they are rescuers. They might think, if I do good, I'll be worthy. The more people that I help, the more self-worth I have. Now, I used to see this time and time again in the classroom and in the staff room, more importantly, where people would wear this busy label as a badge of honor. Oh, I'm so busy. Yeah, how you doing, mate? Yeah, I'm busy. Like, it was almost like who can work the hardest. People pleasing. We do that great in teaching. Hey, come and do this extra position of leadership. Oh, but by the way, you're going to be paid the equivalent of £100 extra a month for all of these extra responsibilities. But we feel like we have to do it to progress. And that's the other way that people burn out in teaching, by just saying yes. And as well as the rescuer, we sometimes look to other people as the victim to rescue us. It could be a boss, it could be the school, it could be a parent, a mentor, a coach. But again, what we're looking at here, team, is that we're looking outside of ourselves for the answers, not within to take responsibility. So just pause. What role are you playing in your educational journey right now? Are you the victim, feeling helpless? Are you the villain? Are you villainizing others? Are you villainizing yourself? Are you trying to find someone to blame? Or are you the rescuer? Are you doing so much for other people, you're not looking after yourself? So I see it all the time. Teachers falling into this trap. Now let's flip it. What I love in coaching is the perspectives that we can choose, all right? And you can choose a different perspective here, which I've nicknamed the teacher empowerment triangle. It's actually called the empowerment dynamic. So these characters change roles. So the victim goes to a creator. So let's go back to my story back in 17. I was writing down ideas. I remember in the park, how can I run a business in education? How can I, effectively make money outside of teaching? I was writing down forest schools, nursery schools, tutoring, sports coach, all this stuff. And I was looking at trying to create my life on my terms. And my dad gave me some advice once when I was very young. He said, son, one day you're going to have an idea that's going to change the world. And I'm like, Dad, I want it now. And that came to me after my, obviously, challenge I had with mental health, and then the coaching experience I had. It gave me the insight of, okay, I can coach. But I had the thought then, I have a choice. And I remember going back into the academic year, 2017, 2018, knowing that was going to be my last year. And man, it gave me so much hope. I felt so hopeful for the future because I was taking responsibility. And yes, guess what? As soon as I handed in my notice, so many teachers were like, what if you fail? What about your pension? What about the security? Because you've got to be really careful here of other people projecting their own fears, doubts, and insecurities onto you. All right, you've got to be so careful about that. But ultimately, I was looking through that. I was determined to make it work, and I realized I had a choice. And I left the classroom in 2018. And like I said, there's been so many ups and downs. I mean, working as an entrepreneur, like you experience that daily. Some days you feel like you're the next Alan Sugar. The next day, the next hour, you can feel like a total failure. However, you're living life on your terms. And then 6 years later, here I am living in Portugal, working with some great international schools, training head teachers of these schools in coaching. 6 years ago, I was a teacher of history in a classroom in Milton Keynes. So like you can create this. And we go back to our roles here. So the villain, instead of persecuting, becomes a challenger. And a challenger here can be a challenger for yourself, getting clear on what you want. You can do this. What's your vision? Big on taking action as a challenger, right? Like it has to come from action. The downside of some talking therapy, like psychotherapy and counseling, is there's not much action to it. But how can you take action to grow? And also finding someone that challenges you. It could be a mentor, could be a guide, could be someone in your network that can help to challenge you to grow. And then the rescuer, instead of, offering solutions, people pleasing, giving all your attention to others, not looking at yourself, becomes the coach. And as the coach, you trust the ability that other people have exactly what they need to make their life a success. They offer compassion and support as a coach, and they empower others. And actually, you start to coach yourself. What do I need right now? What action steps can I take to improve my life? And all of this stuff is a choice about if you want to become or be a victim or a creator. Do you want to be a challenger or a persecutor? Do you want to be a rescuer or a coach? And it's a daily battle to do this. And I say it's a battle because our brains are hardwired to think negative, to keep us safe. And guess what? That is the victim. But if we can appreciate that, acknowledge it, notice it, if you can appreciate and acknowledge that, then you can start to think, well, am I being a victim or a creator here? How am I showing up? Can I challenge myself? Am I persecuting myself here? And how can I coach myself to be my very best? So when we're talking about rising and inspiring, we're really talking about this. That you can create a life outside the classroom and have more time, money, and freedom if that's what you desire. And if you want to start thinking about rising, inspiring, and creating a life on your terms, we've got an amazing program next week called the Empower Ed Collective. And I've been training teachers in coaching since 2019. Very early on, I was coach training because I was getting great results for my students that I was working with. But we've gotten better and better. We've got our International Coaching Federation accreditation now. And what this means is we're offering a high level of coach training. And so I wanted to make something for 9 weeks, just about over summer holidays, for teachers to, I want you to relax and recharge, but also thinking about how can I start to create things on my terms? Because if you are moaning about teaching, if you're terrified of going back in September, if you're burnt out or stressed, it's up to you if you're going to keep following that route. Because guess what? Nothing's going to change. Nothing will change unless you decide to take action to change something. And I've seen it time and time again for teachers going through any form of our coach training. They're learning new skills to better support their students, right? Great stuff. I wish I had that when I first started teaching, how to actually support the young people in my care when it comes to their emotional well-being. But more importantly, you're learning how to better support yourself, and you're looking within for the answers. You're not looking outside to blame others, but you're taking responsibility, ownership, and building integrity for your life. And that's what's on offer. So it's a 9-week course. We kick off on July 31st and we go all the way through to the 24th of September. We have one call a week, which happens on Wednesdays at 6:30 till 8 BST. So far, we've got teachers from Vietnam, UK, Portugal, and Canada with us. We've got a great support network via a great WhatsApp group and also an online community to support you. You've got a course booklet, and there's so much accountability here to make it a success. You also get 2 one-to-one sessions with me, which is obviously great as well, to make sure this is a success and get you really clear on your vision and where you want to go. So if you're interested on that, you can find all the information. I'll put the link on the bottom here on any social post that I've made. So you can book a call or you can request an information pack. We keep the cohort really small. We've still got some spaces available for sure. But if you want to do something different this summer, yes, please relax, recharge, get some sun on your face, but also think, what can I create? What do I want to see different? Then that is what's on offer for you. So I'll end with my favorite quote, that happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. But how many times do you think maybe that teaching's burning me out? You say it and moan to people about teaching, for instance, but you do nothing about it. Like, how many more times are you going to moan, complain, instead of actually taking action to improve things? Because you can. I was in that place. I was moaning, I was complaining, I was anxious, I was stressed, but I've gone away and created something different. And I love to be able to help you do that this summer. So thank you so much for watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, I think Instagram if it works. My name is Sam Moynier, the founder of Student Breakthrough and the Educators Coaching Academy. Wishing you an amazing Friday, and I'll see you very soon. Take care and all the best.